Welcome to another 10-minute episode of Everything Sports in the Mon and Evan. I'm your host, Evan Garber, and today we got NBA playoff predictions as the NBA play-in starts today. And of course, the playoffs themselves start on Saturday. So I'm going to be mainly doing an Eastern Conference breakdown, as Aman did break down the Western Conference yesterday. So go and watch that if you want to hear more thoughts about the Western Conference side of things. But I'm mainly going to be giving my East predictions, and I will give my West predictions and my NBA Finals predictions, but mostly just a preview of the East Conference side of things. And we'll start off with the play-in games, of course. The first play-in game is the 76ers and the Heat. The winner moves on as the 7th seed to play the 2 seed Knicks in the first round. The 76ers and the Heat tied the season series 2 games. However, the Sixers did win the one game in which both Jimmy Butler and Joel Embiid played. That game was 109 to 105, and neither of those two guys actually played in either of the other three matchups. So it's gonna be interesting to see. The one game they did play was a very, very close matchup. So this again could be a very, very close game. However, it's tough to see the Heat winning this game because the Sixers are definitely a top 3 seed, just disguised as a playoff team or as a play-in team because obviously Embiid was out for a while. So I do expect them to make a lot of noise in these playoffs. But you do have playoff Jimmy, who is a whole different beast, and he can easily take down the Sixers, easily take down the Knicks in the first round, easily take down whoever comes his way. So it's going to be a very, very tough matchup, but I do think the Sixers are going to win this game. Sixers are playing really, really good basketball right now. Ever since Embiid came back, they are a hot team, and I just don't see them losing. Embiid was an MVP candidate before then, and he will continue to show why he was an MVP candidate up until he got injured. Moving on to the second play-in, we have the Hawks and the Bulls. Winner plays in my bracket now the Heat for the 8 seed. The Bulls did win the season series by 2-1. And neither team ended the season that well. However, the Bulls did push the Kings in the final game of the season, so part of me is kind of leaning towards the Bulls. But that team is just not that good. I guess you can say neither is the Hawks as well, but I think Trae Young's going to have a big game. He's putting up some pretty good numbers this season. Most people aren't going to say he's MVP candidate because he's not very efficient or anything like that, but he's putting up great numbers, and I think he's going to drop a ton of points in this game. Going to lead the Hawks past the Bulls, which sets up the Hawks versus Heat in the third playing game, which the winner does face the Celtics as the 8 seed. The Heat won that season series by a total of 3-1. And the one game that Jimmy Butler did play in, the Heat won that in a 117 to 111 double overtime thriller just last month, I think it was. But I do think playoff Jimmy is going to win this game. This Hawks team, they're really just not that good. They need to either trade Trae Young or DeJounte Murray and try to fix things because this team's ceiling is not very high. Maybe they can find a way to get past the play-in tournament, but they're not beating the Celtics, that's for sure. Playoff Jimmy probably has one of the best chances to beat the Celtics of any team in the play-in, so I do got the Heat. Moving on, which of course, like I said, sets up the Celtics versus Heat in the first round, 1 versus 8 seed. But I think you gotta go with the Celtics in this one. They're clearly the best team in the NBA, and they should be the ones hosting the Larry O'Brien Trophy at the end of the season. However, the Heat are, as we know, no ordinary 8 seed. Of course, playoff Jimmy Butler, but the Celtics team is just way too dominant. And when you're gonna rely on Nikola Jovic and Jaime Jaquez too much, like the Heat are going to have to in this series and in these playoffs, it's going to be really, really hard to beat such an experienced Celtics team, and a Celtics team that has been so dominant, like I said, this whole season. This should be their NBA championship to lose at this point. But we'll move on to the Knicks versus the 76ers. Knicks 2 seed, 76ers 7 seed. Knicks won the season series 3-1. In the one game that Embiid did play in, the Knicks absolutely annihilated them 128-92. And even despite that score, this is going to be one heck of a series. As I mentioned, the Sixers are not an ordinary 7th seed, and as we know, the Knicks in the playoffs, they tend to choke a lot. And yes, they've been playing such great basketball. Brunson's been playing such an insane basketball this past season. He deserves some MVP love this season. He's putting the team on his back, but even the guys outside of Brunson, all the guys that they acquired this offseason and the trade deadline, OG Anunoby, Achua's been playing pretty well. Dante DiVincenzo. I mean, a lot of these guys that on most teams are just role players, but they're playing the roles really, really well for this New York Knicks team, and all pieces coming together really well, which is why they were able to get that 2 seed, even despite losing Julius Randle. But I mean, I don't know. It's gonna be a very, very tough series. And of course, on the Sixers side, you do have Maxey, who is a finalist for Most Improved. He probably will win it in my eyes. So it's gonna be a really, really tough matchup between the Sixers and Knicks. I'm really just keep going back and forth. Like right now on my notes, I have Knicks in 7, but I don't know, man. It's gonna be a very tough series in the Knicks. I don't know. I probably gotta go with my gut and say Sixers are winning this game, or winning the series. Probably in 7, honestly. I think either way, whoever wins the series, it's going to 7. But I think Joel Embiid can have a monster series. Same with Tyrese Maxey, and then complementary pieces around the 76ers. So around Joel Embiid, I think guys like Kelly Oubre, Tobias Harris, they're going to step up the series, and they're definitely going to need it for the 76ers. And I think that they will sneak past the New York Knicks, who I think just without Julius Randle in this series, it's going to be a bit tougher to beat this tough 76ers team that probably would be the 2 seed, if not 3 seed, if Joel Embiid was healthy. So I'm going to go with 76ers in that series. Then move on to the next series. We do have the Bucks and the Pacers, the 3 versus 6 seed. This one is going to be an absolutely insane series. Of course, we do have Giannis out for the beginning of the series with his calf strain, but even despite that, I mean, we know what the series is gonna hold. We saw what happened in the in-season tournament. We saw what happened earlier with the game ball incident. In the in-season tournament game, the semifinals, the Pacers did win that one, 128-119. Pacers won the season series by 4 games to 1, but in none of these matchups, Siakam played in, because all the matchups were before the trade deadline, before the trade happened, sending Siakam over to the Pacers. But I mean, this is going to be an absolutely insane series. Two of the top offensive teams going head to head. And then, of course, we do know about Doc Rivers' playoff chokes. Happens year after year. And, of course, the Bucks have been sliding as of late, especially after they did sign Doc Rivers to be the head coach. But as we know, Dame and Giannis are completely different beasts in the playoffs, especially Giannis, of course, leading that team to the NBA Finals just a few years ago. But for all we know, could be saying the same about Halliburton and Siakam at the end of this season. Halliburton, of course, was absolutely electric in that play-in tournament. Led them to the finals, which they didn't end up losing. But I don't know. It's going to be a really, really fun series. And it's really hard to pick against the Indiana Pacers, knowing that they won 4-5 without Siakam. And then, of course, you do have the health of Giannis being a huge factor in this series. But I think when it comes down to it, you have to trust in the Milwaukee Bucks, because they do have defensive versatility. Of course, they have Giannis on defense. They have Brook Lopez going to be picking some good defense. They have Pat Bev, who can shut down Halliburton enough in this series. And I think when you take that into account, versus the Pacers, who really don't have any defense at all on their side, I think you have to go with the Bucks. I do got them winning in 7. And, of course, the last series, that's going to be Cavs versus Magic, the 4 versus 5 seed. Season series was tied 2-2. And in my eyes, for whatever reason, this seems like the battle of mid-playoff teams, because, as we know, the Cavs have struggled to get over the hump as of late. Have so much talent around them. They have DG, the PG. They have Donovan Mitchell. They have Evan Mobley. They have Jared Allen. Like, they have a lot of talent on that team. And the Magic, you can point to a lot of guys they have as well. You have Franz Wagner. You have Paolo Banchero. You have Jalen Suggs, Markel Fultz. You have John Isaac. I mean, you have a lot of Anthony Black. You have a lot of solid guys on this team, but to me, it just seems like they'll end up being similar to the Cavs, where they have a lot of talent, but they just can't get over the hump. They can't find that stride in the playoffs and make it far in the playoffs. But either way, I think this is going to be a good series. However, probably not going to be a very high scoring affairs on either in any of these games because of the defensive greatness on both sides of the ball, both teams. Of course, the size on each team as well. But I do think it'll be a pretty fun one. But I think I have to take the Cavs in this series just because of their experience in the playoffs versus the Magic lack of experience. I do like the Cavs win the series in 6. And then shortly touch on the West side. I mean, I feel like it's got to be the Nuggets to lose, even despite them being the 2 seed. Almost dropping down to the 3 seed this season. But it's just hard seeing the Nuggets lose because Nikola Jokic, of course, is absolutely insane, and in my eyes, they still are the best team out west, even despite them being the 2 seed. I mean, you have the inexperienced Thunder as the 1 seed, you have the inexperienced T-Wolves as a 3 seed, and then you have the struggling teams that struggle like the Warriors, like the Suns, Lakers, who, guess we know in the playoffs they can be different animals because of the players on the teams. Kevin Durant's a different beast, LeBron's a different beast, Steph Curry's a different beast, but I don't know. I think there's a reason why those teams did fall where they are in this season, in the standings this season. So I think those struggles are going to continue for most of those teams, and the Nuggets are going to find a way to make it out of the West because they just are so good. Nikola Jokic is just make this team so much better, especially in the playoffs, and I think they will find them way to the NBA Finals, set up Celtics versus Nuggets, and I do think it is the Celtics' year to win it. I do got them winning it in, I'd say 7 games probably, just because Jokic is that good. But Celtics, this is their year. It should be their year at least. They do seem to choke every single year though, but I mean, this team is just way too dominant this season. It feels like they have to win the NBA Finals. If not, it's a huge disappointment for the Boston Celtics, but let me know your thing down below. Comment down below your guys' thoughts on the NBA playoffs, your guys' predictions on who will win the NBA Finals. Of course, more so the East side, as that is what I talked about. Give your takes on the play-in tournament for this season, as we will probably have more of a breakdown upcoming weeks as the playoffs do continue. But we'll see you guys tomorrow. I want to see you guys tomorrow, probably for a breakdown of the West play-in. And then I'll see you on Thursday for a breakdown of the East play-in games.